Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Sweater Weather Knit Along. And today I think we're at -3 when I came into work. So the warmer the sweater, the better the weather feels. So just a quick recap. We do have Super Sandy here standing by, so please send her a wave, say hello. Let us know where you're watching us from, what great progress you've made on your sweaters this week, and if you have any questions during our live video, please feel free to post them in your comment section. So quick recap, this is week 3, so we will be focusing on the sleeves, changing the width and the shape as an option to suit your personal preferences. But going back to the beginning of our Sweater Weather Knit Along, which started 3 weeks ago, we started with option number 1, PJ pullover, which I'm wearing, and it has the wide slouchy look with the bell sleeves, crew neck, and it is a strand held together of our extra fine super kid mohair with silk and a strand of cotton merino. So you get a very light, lofty, quick knitting fabric, and it is really, really cozy. There's no itch factor, and oversized, boxy. You can make it as long as you like. So very, very comfortable. I highly recommend it. And we have about 4 or 5 colors in stock for this option. So that one we call option number 1 because it's a simple, straightforward, easy construction. Straight up, no armhole shaping, and the sleeves are straight up after you do the initial bell type increasing. And then option number 2 is Keeper of the Woods. This one is intermediate level because it does involve charted work here to follow. Knits and purls in a Guernsey style pattern. Back and front have the same pattern, and the sleeves have a little bit of the pattern at the very top. And that one has the crew neck, and that is knit up in a worsted weight, gorgeous llama natural. It is a combination of llama and merino, and it is undyed. So all the colors you'll see as options for this one are listed in the events page, and they are completely natural shades, so off-white, light gray, this is the dark gray, and then a light fawn beige, and a darker fawn beige. And then we also have option number 3, which is the advanced version, and this is our Italian lace pullover. It has been a fan favorite, and it is also knit in the llama natural, but in the chunky version. So you can use larger needles. This is 7mm required, and it also comes in the natural creams, fawn, darker fawn, light gray, and darker gray. And it is knit bottom up without use of circular. The only time you need the circular needle is to finish the neckband. And then we also have our option number 3B right behind me, ranunculus. And that one is great for anyone who wants to do a top down for the first time on the round needles, and again have no seams for sewing up, and experience some of the interesting texture work which is surrounding the yoke of this sweater. So that catches us up to where we are. Hi, Anne. Anne finished the back of Keeper last night. Congratulations. And the front will be even easier and less time consuming because you don't have to go right up. You have some neck shaping to do. So if you did not catch us live last week, you can always refer back to any of the videos just by jumping on our events section and looking for Sweater Weather Knit Along. What we were discussing last week is primarily about shoulder shapings, changing lengths of the body of your sweater, changing the height of your neckline if it's too low for you or too high for you. We went over those changes. Can't remember what else we went over. Do you remember, Sandy?
You went over the bottom, changing
The bottom. I think that was
the
week
cast
one.
on.
No, that was week one, definitely. But today we're going to focus on the sleeves. That's not rushing you to feel that you have to be at this stage just because we're discussing it today. It's just to give you a little bit of guideline for when you get to that stage, and then you can always refer back to this video for your tips. So I will start with, okay, sleeves for option number one, the PJ pullover. So some of you are not a fan of the wide, voluminous sleeve. It's a trendy look for this year, but it can be easily changed. So you have two options. You can either knit a longer cuff. You can see on my original sample, the cuff is quite short. You can do 2 times or 3 times the length. That will give you a much firmer, tighter ribbing, and then the volume starts after that. So the ballooning part would start probably at a 3/4 sleeve length. So that would be completely fine. That means you don't change any of the numbers, stitch number on your pattern. You simply cast on and knit the ribbing 3 times the length or twice the length, whatever you like, and then continue with the instructions as is. The other option would be to follow the cuff to your desired preference and length, and then omit the increase row directly after the cuff. In this particular pattern, all the increases happen directly after the cuff, and then it goes straight up from there. And if you're not comfortable with that, that's perfectly fine. What we would do then is we would knit the ribbing and omit the row that says increase. I think it's about 29 stitches, and we would start to increase every 4th row, beginning and end of every 4th row, just like a traditional sleeve. And then you'd have a very nice sculpted sleeve, something like this, and you'd get the full number of stitches closer to the cast off instead of at the beginning. So that would be the only change to PJ pullover sleeves. Again, you do have to measure your preferred sleeve length because it is a drop shoulder style, and that particular tip is in last week's video, so I hope you didn't miss that. It's very helpful for your knitting recipes, future sweaters, to know exactly what your sleeve measures from your mid-back to your sleeve cuff. And we did have one of our knit-alongers who came in yesterday, and she didn't have anyone at home to measure from the back of her neck to her sleeve cuff. So I helped her out with that, and she's going to keep that in her notebook for always. So option number 2, we're going to discuss how to change the sleeves. It is quite a full sleeve, as you can see here, and it is tapered. So the increases happen very gradually, but if you are not a fan of the width here and the width in the underarm here, we'll go about talking about how to change that. So traditionally a sleeve, an adult female sleeve should measure 8 to 9 inches along the armhole. This one being more of a slouchy, comfy sweater, it measures 10 inches here. So we can reduce an inch off each side. So that would look like, how does that look? For anybody who's knitting this sweater, do you like the look better of a slimmer sleeve? Okay, so what we can do to achieve that look is knit the cuff as required, but there is an increase row that happens after the cuff, and that's again a standard item in sweaters, traditional sweaters, we will omit the increase row after the ribbing, as stated, and instead we will just continue increasing as the pattern states until you get the full measurement that you're looking for. Don't worry that you're not coming out with the required number of stitches, because that will just create a naturally slimmer sleeve at the top. The main thing to remember on this design is that all the increases should happen in the stocking stitch. They should not be part of the sleeve band. That should be straight. You can see there's some moss stitch and some reverse stocking stitch, which matches the front and the back design. So all your increasing must be complete before you get into this section. If you are knitting a much shorter sleeve, the measurements for this one came out to about 18 inches. Then you can also get away with reducing your pattern work here to keep it in proportion. You don't want to have a really short section here and then a heavy section here. So if you're knitting a shorter sleeve, if you can see what I mean, we don't need as much pattern at the top. So this pattern is repeated twice. Simply repeat it just once. It will still look like it belongs at the top of the sleeve and matches the back and front. So that's another option you can do. And I think that was it, yes. So it's basically about eliminating the increases after the ribbing, which will show up later in the sleeve. You won't have the extra stitches up here, and you'll get less of a boxy style sleeve. So that is Keeper of the Woods. And then we have our Italian lace sweater. Well, this one is perfect the way it is, and that's all because of the ribbing. It's a knit 3, purl 3 rib sleeve, which creates elasticity, and it will stretch out or in to accommodate your arm size. So this one has no increases all the way up, and it will just stretch out or stretch in as needed. But the important thing to remember for this sleeve to get your perfect fit is don't knit it too long, because the sleeve is quite a drop here. So that's taking up more of the body, and it's also taking up more of your sleeve length. So of all the sweaters here that we are featuring, this one will end up having the shortest sleeve length. So then we have Ranunculus, which is our sweater option number 3B. And this one is knit, again, top down. So the sleeves, you can actually try on the sweater as you're knitting it. And as you get closer and closer to the cuff, you can decide if you want to shorten or lengthen. So there's a lot of, there's a bonus whenever you're knitting top down, because you can try it on for body length as you go and get a real visual of what it's going to look like, and you can also try it on for sleeve length. This one again doesn't have much of a sleeve, because you can see the body is quite wide and the raglan is very deep. So that's taking up a lot of the sleeve length. But there are a couple changes we're going to make to the sleeve notes on that pattern for those of you who are knitting it. One is they have a very strange shaping. It's called a diagonal cuff line, and that would create a sleeve that's longer at the back and shorter at the front. It's really maybe a little bit too modern for our liking, so if you eliminate that section and then just start at section 9. So that's page 5-6, section 9, where it says finish long sleeves. And from there on, they'll ask you to decrease and then do the I-cord bind off. And that's the pretty little finish that they've used to replace traditional ribbing. So just eliminate that section and jump to section 9, follow the I-cord, and then you're done. But you do have another choice for the sleeves. You can do a ribbed cuff. So if you like the ribbed cuff at the bottom here, and you'd like to match that, then why not? You can just add it onto the sleeve. So for a cuff, that means you have to knit your sleeve a little bit shorter to allow for a regular ribbed cuff, and then you still have to decrease. Instead of decreasing down to an odd number of stitches, like you would for the I-cord border, you're going to decrease to an even number of stitches. The reason for that is because you'd be working in the twisted rib, matching the cuff and matching the neckline. And the twisted rib, when worked in the round, requires an even number of stitches. Because it's a knit one, purl one, twisted rib, so you have to end with a purl and start with a knit each round. So just remember to decrease to an even number of stitches, do the twisted rib 2 inches if you like, or you can do the long 4-inch cuff if you like to. We have had a few knitters who have changed to the ribbed cuff, and it looks quite nice. Yeah, so that's really all the sleeve tips. Next week we'll be focused on the collars and finishing. Do we have any more questions, Super Sandy?
Nope.
No, it's all quiet there. Well, then we get to go to our trivia. So this is our final grand prize. Nice basket full of yarn, pattern, and a few extras in there. We will be drawing for that 1 week after next week. So next week is the finishing tips, and then the final week we'll do a live draw. And whoever wins today's trivia quiz question will have another incentive ballot to go into the draw bucket. So more chances of winning. So today our trivia is about kid mohair. Kid mohair is in our beautiful yarn, which is featured in PJ pullover, and it is one of the natural fibers featured in our sweater weather knit along. So kid mohair is known as a luxury fiber. It comes from the shearing of fibers from young Angora goats. What's different about kid mohair is that it lacks the dander, which can sometimes be an allergy trigger found in wool. The adult mohair fiber has a coarser texture and can be prickly next to the skin. So we do prefer the kid mohair. It feels gorgeous and it does not irritate your skin. Most of our kid mohair is grown in South Africa and also Texas. Kid mohair has a natural luster. It's known for creating a brilliant spectrum of dyed colors. The unique structure of the fiber is ringlet shaped, which means it can be stretched or twisted without any damage. A knitted garment will resist wrinkling or stretching. If only human skin had that trait. So our trivia question today, and we want the answer that is exact. If we don't get the exact answer, it is the closest answer without going over. Everyone ready? How many yards are in one ball of our divine Super Kid mohair and silk? So the correct answer without going over, and the first answer will win an incentive ballot. Super Sandy is standing by. Now these are 25-gram balls, which is a standard size for any brand of kid mohair and silk. And maybe another clue is that there are 4 balls in this sweater. The PJ pullover has 4 balls of the kid mohair and silk combined with a strand of the cotton and merino. I think I'm giving too many clues away. Everyone's at their calculator trying to figure it out. Well, sooner or later we'll get the right answer.
I had one guess, but
Oh, we had one guess, but not close? What was the guess?
550.
Okay, well, we can go down from that number. That number is a little bit too high. I can tell you what the yardage is in Lama Natural as a comparison. These are 100 grams and these are 250 meters, and we've used 5 of these in this sweater. And then another comparison is our Lama Natural Chunky, which is also 100 grams, and it has 125 meters. Sorry, I don't have the yardage comparison. And we used 7 skeins for this sweater. And then the sweater behind me, which is a strand of kid mohair and fingering, has 2 skeins of fingering, 100 grams, and 3 balls of the mohair. So there's a lot of variance. This one, of course, has a little bit less mohair than this one because of the larger tension. Oh, okay, we have a winner at 219 yards. Kyoko, congratulations. You have an incentive ballot going in our draw. And I think you knew the answer because I think you're working with this yarn in your ranunculus. So very good. So we will be back next week, same time, same place, for the last tips and tutorial edition for this knit along. And if you have any questions in the meantime, please post them in the comment section of the video, or you can also post your progress pictures on our events page. We'd love to see them, and I'm sure all the knit alongers would love to cheer you on and to see your progress as well as we would. So enjoy your weekend. It's going to be a Halloween weekend in whatever shape and form, and perfect for getting more knitting done. So we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. She won last time too, in our last one. But she is knitting one of the sweaters, so.
She says, thank you, yes, I am.